Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Tacoma Cyclist. I'm the Tacoma Cyclist, here by myself today, although the Boogeyman will be joining me for a ride later. Talking a little bit today about oval chainrings. As you can see in the bike behind me, I've been riding with some oval chainrings, specifically absolute black chainrings, for probably about the past 600, 800 miles, and just wanted to kind of give a report on those. Not really a review. I think that's one of those really personal things that you can't really review those. You can just kind of give your own personal impressions. There's not a whole lot of objective science behind it, so I'm just going to give my impressions, and I'll talk a little bit about some of the myths and misconceptions or maybe ideas about what they do, and tell you if I feel that they're doing those things. As we go through this ride today, I'll talk a little bit at various points about what those do. I will also provide a couple other links in the comments below, something I think you should check out. I'm going to talk about this mostly from a subjective perspective, but if you're not familiar with his channel, I want you to also go to Dylan Johnson's channel. Dylan's he's with Carmichael Training Systems. He does a lot of science-based reviews. He does a lot of science-based information. His channel can be a little bit dry and goofy, but that's my style, so I'm totally down with that. I like Dylan's channel. He actually talks about these from a more scientific perspective and reviews some of the studies and the meta-studies around them. I'm going to talk about them from a personal perspective, and hopefully you'll join me for the journey. It's a beautiful sunny day outside today. It's Mother's Day, 2020. We're smack dab in the middle of the lockdown, but we're fortunate. We're able to ride. We're able to get out and do some stuff, so we're going to go on a nice, beautiful ride. It's going to be 80, 85 degrees today here in the Pacific Northwest. Sunny, beautiful. So we're going to slap on some sunscreen, and we're going to take these for a quick test ride. So the Boogeyman and I are a good 65K into our ride today. Again, I'm riding these absolute black oval chainrings. Thought we'd talk about some of the myths, the legends, the misconceptions, all of those kinds of fun things about the oval chainrings. I'll be doing most of the talking because, well, he hasn't been riding them and he hasn't talked very much. Myth number one is that it's easier on your knees. Maybe it's easier on your E's too, I don't know, but it's easier on your knees. I really can't speak to that too much in that I don't have a lot of knee problems anyway while on the bike. I could see why people might say it's easier on the knees, as the pedal stroke is definitely smoother and you definitely feel it. Myth letter B is that the shifting goes to crap when you use oval chainrings. I think that's, I don't know, what do you think, Boogeyman? Partially true?
Yeah, you have to just make sure it's set up right.
Yeah, it's got to be aligned well. If your bike's not set up right, your shifting's going to be crap. And I've been tinkering around with my shifting a lot over the past several hundred miles while I'm working on this. Part of it was just because I had the wrong parts behind my E-tap derailleur and it wasn't lined up correctly, but I've been messing around with it more today. I had a chain drop, but I think that was partially because I did a bad shift at a bad time, and partially because the front derailleur is not set up exactly correctly. But overall, what I'll find is that if you're shifting while your cadence is high, it's no problem. If you shift under load and your cadence is okay, it's no problem, usually. If you're shifting under load and your cadence is low, especially front rear derailleur, I mean, rear derailleur doesn't matter on this, but on the front, if you're shifting under load and your cadence isn't very high, it might take a second for the ramps to catch and pull the chain up where it should be. I'm thinking mostly from little ring to big ring. Big ring to little ring is usually never a problem. That's where I had my chain drop earlier, but again, I think that was more me than it was the bike. So we'll talk more about some of the other myths and misconceptions here in a minute. So we're about 80K in now, getting a little tired. It's pretty freaking hot out here today. But that's okay. Let's talk a little bit more about some of the myths and misconceptions about the oval chain rings. Myth letter 3. That would be that it makes you a better climber. I think if that were the case, everybody would have them. I think that myth comes from the fact that Chris Froome uses them. I don't know. The Boogeyman and I are pretty good climbers. That's kind of what we do. It helps being light and all that. And I will say that there are some benefits to it on climbs, to the oval rings. And what I notice is that if I'm able to keep a higher cadence, so if it's a long climb and it's like a climb where I can do 85, 90 RPM, I'm able to spin up a lot easier to a higher cadence, therefore higher power. So I can see it being really beneficial in a road race where I'd want to attack pretty hard on a climb. I can see that being really beneficial. I really do feel that it definitely does make a difference like that. That's probably, in my opinion, the biggest difference is that feeling of this wealth of power that you might get the moment you kick in the gear on an uphill. Does it make you a better climber? No. I mean, I think that ultimately your power is your power is your power, and if you can't do the power up a climb, then you're not going to be able to do it with the oval chain rings. I do think that if you have good power, good kick on a climb, that you're going to feel the difference on this, and it's going to make it feel better. Not easier, just better. And that brings us to myth number D. And that these are just the rebadged old oval chain rings from the 80s and the 90s, the old Shimano's, and their weird system that they had back then, which if you read any of the literature, you'll find out real quick that it's just not. The ovals are in a completely different position. The way that Shimano did theirs, they had the ovals in your dead spot and then the smaller portions in your active zone. This is the exact opposite. What I have found is that a 52 ring here feels bigger than a 52 because you're putting more energy through your power zone. I'm still able to do the same climbs, the same efforts in the same gears. I've seen people online talking about how they have to go up or down a gear based on using these cranks. I just don't find that to be the case. I do feel like it feels like I'm pushing a bigger gear, but I'm able to do it. So here's some kind of random thoughts on those cranks. You might ask, why did I get them in the first place? You know, it's not like I just want to go throwing money around for absolutely no reason. Reality is I had put like 12,000 miles on the previous chain rings, and it was just time to replace them. Kudos to SRAM, because those chain rings, they needed to be replaced, but they had 12,000 miles on them and they were still usable, but they were worn. So I needed new chain rings anyway. And the Absolute Blacks came in only marginally more expensive than the SRAM stock chain rings anyway. So I talked to my friend that owns a shop and said, you know, what's the deal? What do you think? And he said, well, we can get them, and if you don't like them, we can just swap them back out for the SRAMs. So I got them, ordered them, only marginally more expensive than the SRAMs, and slapped them on the same day. Worked like a charm. Since then, there has not really been any part of me that said that I want to go back to the round chain rings. It took me about a ride, maybe 5 miles into the ride before I kind of got used to them. And the biggest difference was that I did notice that it felt lopsided at first. Not bad lopsided, it just felt lopsided, just different. But I've had no problems with them since. Do I think it makes me a stronger, faster, more powerful rider, better climber? No. Do I like the feel of them? Yes, I do. I do like the feel of them. They feel nice. If I were going to buy another set of chainrings in the future, I'll probably buy these again rather than the SRAMs. Just a matter of personal preference. I do have regular round rings on my TT bike. I'll probably keep those at least until they need to die. I don't feel compelled to rush out and spend another $200 on chain rings. It doesn't fix or solve any problems. If it did, I would probably do it. One thing I will say about these chain rings, and if you're looking at getting them, is that they reward good form on the bike. So if your cadence is good, your body posture is good, you're going to find that the rings actually feel really good underneath of you. If your posture is bad, if your cadence is bad, if the way you load your pedals is wrong, you'll notice that really badly too. So these reward good posture, good form. They punish bad posture, bad form. Where I notice this is, if I'm 80 miles into a road race or 75 miles into a road race, and I'm starting to get tired and my form starts to go south, I feel it through these cranks. Things start to feel real lopsided real fast. Usually I can self-correct, it's not a problem, but if you're really tired and you're really on the rivet, you're gonna feel it. So if that's a problem you have, if you're not, if your cadence isn't very smooth, if you're maybe loading your pedals wrong, maybe if you've done an analysis using any of the dual-sided power meters or anything, and you realize that your cadence is just wonky, like you're putting power in the wrong part of the pedal stroke, for example, you're not going to like these. So save your money, go with round rings. In the end, would I recommend these rings to people? Yeah, with a caveat. And the caveat is this. If you're going to go spend $200 plus on a new set of chain rings thinking it's going to make you a stronger cyclist or faster or better, you're probably mistaken. If you have to replace your chain rings anyway and you want to see what they're all about, I don't think you're going to be disappointed in any way. I think you're actually going to like them. Do I think they're worth dropping $200 on just to get that performance gain? Probably not. Even if I had money to throw around, I probably wouldn't do it unless it was just maybe they were on sale or something. I don't know. I don't see myself dropping it if I didn't have the cash in reserves already and I needed the rings anyway. If you're in that position, go get them. I don't think you're going to be disappointed. If you're not in that position, just wait till your rings die and then get them then. I think it's totally worth it at that point. So that's really all I've got to say on the oval chain rings. Boogeyman was quiet as usual. That's okay. Stay tuned for some more videos. I've got some more exciting reviews coming up, some more race content. We've been doing a lot of Zwift racing, and I'm going to stream some more of those. In the meantime, we would love it if you would give us a like for this video if you like it. If you don't like it, I have to wonder why you're watching this whole thing all the way through. Love it if you subscribe. We're getting really close to 1,000 subscribers, and we're getting really close to the minimum amount of watch time to get our channel actually promoted to the next level. So we would very much appreciate it if you'd subscribe. If you haven't already, just hit the button. Doesn't hurt you. And stay tuned. We'll have some more stuff coming soon. Thanks a lot. See you next time.